are rising concerns on the possible impact of this variant on small businesses in the tourism sector, as well as their survival. We've invited Jeremy Lang, the Executive Director at Business Partners, to chat to us about what small businesses are saying at this time, particularly those that are in the tourism sector. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us on Point. What do you make of the President's speech, particularly with regards to mandatory vaccinations? Is this something that you can see the small business community really playing to or taking up to?
Yes, I think the maintaining on level 1 was welcomed, although the banning of international travellers is definitely going to impact negatively on the tourism industry. I think many of them were relying on the activity over the festive period to increase their revenues, increase their profits and keep their doors open. However, this does provide opportunity at the local level. Thankfully, the interprovincial travel has not been restricted, and therefore the local market is still an opportunity. But one needs to change your marketing approach and potentially price points to attract the local market. We don't really have a formal position on the mandatory vaccinations, but we are trying to support SMEs as far as we can to ensure that their businesses remain open, that jobs remain secure, but no doubt that it will be impacted negatively.
Yeah. Jeremy, at this time last year, as Business Partners, you were talking about the impact that international travellers have on South Africa's tourism sector, and if the tourism sector can survive without international visitors. The picture is pretty much the same this time around, because we've seen that, in fact, international travellers will not be allowed in. Once again, we are going to rely on domestic travel, but there are a lot of hurdles when it comes to South Africans travelling within the country. One of those is cost. How can this industry make it very easy and affordable for business to, or for people, people to start travelling domestically?
Yes, I think first and foremost, safety is always an absolute necessity. So make sure that consumers feel safe in your establishment. And then secondly, the price points are really important. Consumers are very price sensitive at the moment. Make it attractive, make it worthwhile. But of course, businesses still have to make a profit to keep their doors open. So you need to strike a really good balance. But to enable you to offer prices at these price points, maybe you need to look internally to ensure that there are no unnecessary or wasted costs. Look at ways of improving efficiencies, improving margins, without necessarily penalizing the consumer ultimately. But no doubt, a relook at the marketing strategy and price points for the local market will have to be necessary. Yeah.
Your mandate as Business Partners Limited is to fund small businesses that are in a particular stage of existence. Have you found that you are financing more of those that are in the tourism sector? Is that the picture that you have been seeing over the past 2 years since COVID took over basically our lives?
Yes, on two fronts. There are opportunities where businesses have not survived and buyers do come through. But more so in the relief financing programs, where relief is actually provided to assist these businesses to ensure that they can sustain themselves, cover their fixed overheads, sustain the jobs that they have employed in their businesses. So it's been less of growth and more of relief measures to ensure their sustainability.
What would you say businesses need to do, the entirety at this point, to stay afloat, particularly those that were expecting those international travellers to come in? What more can they do besides encouraging domestic travel among us citizens?
Yes, I think planning is key. Ensure that cash flow is sufficient, reduce costs wherever you can, improve margins and efficiencies wherever you can. And then reach out. There are still some relief programs available. Reach out to those to ensure that you're adequately capitalized and you have enough liquidity to see you through this difficult period. Hopefully that then carry you through until the borders open up again. So it's really at this stage about survival rather than growth. and planning and adapting to the environment is absolutely key.
Yeah, I know that earlier on you did say that you currently don't have a view on this, but I'm really moved to ask you about how you think the small business community will take up if the mandatory vaccination actually does come in force. Do you think that this is a community that will will welcome this with open arms, or maybe there'd be more of a resistance? What do you think, given your experience, of course, of working with the small business community?
Yes, I think even at the moment the views are mixed, so you will get those who will welcome and others not necessarily. But I think if you consider that safety is absolutely key and first and foremost, the tourism industry has actually embraced the protocols, implemented it in their establishments. So that's already in place. But I think you're going to have a mixed bag and a balanced view of some embracing it and others not. So very much a representation, perhaps.
Yeah. Just lastly, before I let you go, please remind our viewers how they can get funded by business partners if they do have business ideas that they'd like to get off the ground, and what kind of businesses you do fund.
Yes, we fund across most industries except for a few, direct agriculture, on lending, and underground mining. But we fund generally across most industries. Lots of good information on our website on www.businesspartners.co.za with contact information in various parts of the country that are offices closest to where you are based.
Right. Jeremy Lang, the Executive Director at Business Partners, joining us there to talk about small businesses in the tourism sector and basically what they think of the President's address last night. And yeah, he's saying that if you want to get funded by them, he has given out details of how you get funded by Business Partners Limited.